Hi folks, Modelling Mark here again. So before we get stuck in today's video, we've got a new sticker for the sticker board. This one is from Rusty's Inventions. I hope that's in focus. Rusty has got a very nice channel. He does all sorts. Currently he's building a Stuart 10V, doing a cracking job of it. In the past he did his freelance horizontal mill engine, also very nice piece of machining. He does some tool making, he does work on his machines, he's got a motorbike, so he can't be all bad. So he sent me a sticker. I think we'll put you up here, Rusty, next to Tea and Biscuits and just above Nobby's workshop. And I think I got you straight. So, Rusty's Inventions, cracking channel, a really nice guy, does all sorts, so definitely well worth a look. As always, I'll put a link to his channel in the description. Yeah, and if you're wondering what the scribbles are here, that will all become clear in, I think it's 2 videos time. Right, on with the rear tool post. By popular demand, I'm going to make a start on the rear tool post. I hope to get this out in probably 3 videos, maybe 4. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, I've got a nice big chunky casting as the base, which is the first part I'm going to tackle. Lots of meat on this casting, so I've just put it in the 4-jaw chuck and lined it up by eye. There's at least 1/8 of an inch come off each side, so we don't need to be too accurate about setting it up. First thing I'm going to do is face off the base, so I've got a reference surface to work from. Then I shall go over to the mill and tackle the sides and the top. And then while it's in the mill, I'll also bore out the holes. And then finally come back to the lathe, put it in the 4-jaw chuck again and turn this radius. I'm obviously not doing that now because it's not set up in the 4-jaw chuck very accurately. That will do nicely. Next operation is going to be to mill this face flat. My table will only come this far, so I can't quite get to this top edge. That doesn't matter because this block is going to have to be cut down roughly to where that red line is. So it doesn't matter that I can't get to this very top. I shall definitely go past the red line. If nothing else, it means there's less to hacksaw off. There's plenty to come off this face. I think overall the block is about 2 1/4 inch wide, so there's about 1/8 of an inch to come off each side. Anyway, I shall give this a good clean up, and then we'll turn it over, measure it and see what we got left. This is going to take a very, very long time. My poor little mill will only take small cuts with such a large cutter. And I don't have the memory card the size of an elephant. So I'm going to turn this off now and I'll bring you back when I've finished. I've finished cleaning up this face now, so I'm just going to take a finishing cut just to make sure it's nice and smooth. And that will do. Next task is to take it out the vise and hacksaw the top off. And it's times like this I really wish I had a bandsaw. I've hacksawed the top off now. That was definitely a 3 shredded wheat job. It took about 45 minutes of hacksawing. I'm just going to skim the top because my hacksaw cut this is about as straight as a curly whirly. And that will do. Now I'm going to clean up this face. I shall clean up this face and then I'll take it out, have a measure and then take it down to size on the width. Again, this is going to be a long protracted machining exercise, so I'll just show you the first couple of passes, then switch off the camera and bring you back for the last pass. That's cleaned up nicely now. So now I can take it out, have a measure and see how much we've got to take off. It's measuring 2.166 inches, so 166 there to come off. Now I've got these cast skin off these faces. I'll switch back to my nice carbide cutter, which cuts so much nicer. Now I'm just touching off on the bottom of the vise against a feeler gauge and set that to 0. So the tool's indexed to the bottom of the vise at 0. So if I put the work back in and mill down until I get to 2 inches, then I should be good. With 160 thou to come off, roughly, I'm going to take 80 thou off this side, take it out, give it a measure, and then take another 80 thou off the other side, and finally bring it down to spot on 2 inches. You can see the carbide cutter cuts much nicer, much quicker, with much less vibration. It's going to be another long one, so I'll turn off and bring you back when I've finished. And that's it for that side. Now, if I've done everything right, this should now measure 2.08 inches. And it does. Now that can go back in that way. And I can repeat the exercise and come down to a DRO reading of 2 inches, which should give me a nice 2-inch block. But I'm not going to video that because it's exactly the same and very boring. I shall bring you back when I've done. That's the width taken down to 2 inches now. It came out, depending on where I measured, either spot on or about 2 thou under, which is perfectly good enough for an outside dimension. Now I'm going to machine this feature. I've got about 100 thou to come off the thickness here. And I've got a little bit to come off the top here. So I've got a long series end mill. So I shall nibble down, taking 100 thou thickness off here. And then when I get to the bottom, I'll clean up this surface. Now it looks like there's very little clearance between the top of that and the top of my vice jaws, but the finished dimension is 1 inch and my vice jaws are about 0.95 inches, so I've just got enough clearance there. As they say, clearance is clearance. Now again, this is going to be a long drawn out process. So I'll do the first couple of passes on the vertical surface, then I'll switch off and then I'll come back to you when I've got down to start cleaning up this surface. Oh, the tool, again, I've indexed off the base of the vise, so 0 tool height is 0 on the DRO. So I just need to come down to 1 inch on the DRO. Right, I'll bring you back when I've finished. I've got down far enough so I'm just about to start cleaning up this face. To clean up this face, I'm going to come out and start cleaning up from this side so I can do the cleanups half a cutter diameter at the time. Cutters seem to be happier with that. I'm sure you get the idea now, so I shall carry on with the camera turned off and I'll bring you back when I've done. Okay, this is just the last finishing pass to do here now. And that is it for those faces. I was going to do another pass along here, but doesn't need it. There's virtually no machining marks that I can feel, just a couple of very light ridges. By the time it gets a coat of paint on there, that'll be absolutely fine. That just leaves this back face to do, and I've got no way of holding that so that face is horizontal. So I'm going to have to do this one again by nibbling all the way down here. The long series end mill is just long enough. I'm not going to video that because it's going to be very long and tedious, and the same as doing this side. So I will say bye for now, and I'll come back a few hours later when I've finished that one. Well, that was tedious, but it's done now, and it's actually given a really nice surface finish. Apart from a couple of marks just at the top, but they're visible, but you can't feel them. So that now needs a quick deburr. Now that's all brought down to size, apart from that face, which will be done in the lathe later. This can go in the vise on some parallels. I can bring it down to height, and I can machine the features from the top. First task is to reduce this to the correct height. I need to take off 93 thou. So back with the carbide milling cutter for that one. Then I'm going to show you the start and the finish, not the middle, because the middle is long and boring. That's down to the correct height now. Now I can swap the collet chuck out for the 3-jaw chuck and use the edge finder to index to the centre, and then carry on with the rest of the operations. The DRO is now centred on the centre of the block. Just used an edge finder off the 4 edges, then used the half function to get the centre. Now I've got to drill a 1/2 inch reamed hole all the way through. Again, my nice cobalt drill should have no problem going through cast iron. I'm going to have to get some more of these drills, they work really well. Running out of height now, so I'm having to resort to the taper shank drills. And finally in with the 1/2 inch reamer. That's the 1/2 inch hole done. Now I need to bore a 1 inch hole 5/8 of an inch deep. We'll use the boring bar for that. It's the boring bar set up. There's a depth stop set at 5/8. And now we've got the fairly long process of boring this out to 1 inch. This is going to take a while, so as usual I'll turn the camera off and I'll come back when I've finished. That's the boring finished, and it was very boring, I can assure you. Anyway, because this bit is quite long and quite thin, there's quite a bit of flex there. So it took about 4 or 5 spring passes to get it to stop cutting. And by the time I've done that, it's gone about 10th thou oversized. But that doesn't really matter because I've got to make the spigot to go in that. So I'll just make it to suit. One of the nice things about this design is the turret has got 2 tool positions and can spin round 180 degrees. And to make sure that it spins round exactly 180 degrees, there's an indexing pin and there's 2 holes on the turret. And so the next feature on here is a hole there for the indexing pin. Now that's got to be 5/16 reamed all the way until the bottom ½ inch, and the bottom ½ inch is an M8 tapped hole for a grub screw. Then there's a spring in the bottom. And that's offset by 11/16 in the X and the Y. So that'll be the next feature to drill. This needs to be an M8 tapping hole all the way through, and then a 5/16 hole reamed down to within ½ inch of the bottom. And the little bit of Sharpie there is just the idiot prevention measure, just to make sure I get it in the right corner. Start off with a 5mm pilot drill. That's just long enough to go all the way through the casting. Taking smaller pecks now because I'm getting very close to the top of the flutes. Let's go in with the letter H drill. That's the M8 tapping size. A 7.8mm drill, which is a good pre-reaming size for the 5/16. Finally, we've got the 5/16 reamer. That's the hole reamed. I'll do a quick test with the material, which is a bit of silver steel, and that's what I would call a tight sliding fit. Should be okay. If it proves to be a little bit tight, then I'll just give the bar a little bit of a polish. Now I've got to cut a slot about here, which is ½ inch from the top, 5/8 long, and centered over the hole that we've just drilled, and it's 3/16 wide. So I shall start by drilling the ends with a 3/16 drill. Then I'll take an 1/8 milling cutter, work my way down, and then go out a 1/16 either side to tidy up the edges. I found in the past just cutting a slot with a milling cutter doesn't always work terribly well. Okay, so the top hole is 00 in the DRO, the bottom will be 0 and 625, and then we'll take it from there. Now I've got an 1/8 milling cutter in. I'm going to mill out first of all an 1/8 slot, and then I'll widen it out. That's come out nice on this side. Looks like it's still got a smidge more to go. Maybe a little bit of cutter deflection, I don't know. But anyway, we'll put it back in and take another 5 thou off this side. No, it still needs a smidge more. I can still see a perceptible sort of dog bone shape. Yeah, that's much better. There's no discernible dog bone shape there now. Yeah, I don't know why it seemed to need to go about another 4 thou further on this side. Back over at the lathe now in the 4-jaw chuck. Now this hole in the bottom has got to be bored out to 3/4 of an inch to a depth of 3/8. Now the bottom of this hole does need to be a good finish, so I shall go just under 3/8 deep, and I shall do a facing cut with the boring bar to smooth out the bottom of the hole. That looks to be about 2 thou to go. That's near enough. Now I shall just wind the tool in a couple of thou on the compound slide and then wind it back across to smooth off the top surface of the hole. That looks like it's come out nice. So the last operation on this for now is to clean up this curved surface. The drawings give a dimension of 3.5 from there to there, but I think I shall just turn it until it finishes cleaning up. that's it. One more pass with the fine feed. That'll do nicely. It's not on the drawing, but I'm just going to put a chamfer on that edge, mainly because I think it'll look better. This part's finished now, except for 2 holes here to fix it to the saddle. Not quite sure what I'm going to do about fixing this to the saddle. I'll either need to cut a new T-slot or drill and tap some holes. So that can wait until I've had a good think about that. But it came out nice. That's the slot for the button to press the plunger. That's obviously the hole for the plunger which indexes the turret, which can swivel on that bush. That'll look nice when it's had a coat of paint. The next part to make is the turret, which is made out of that 2-inch length of bar stock. That's the next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And if you have any comments, leave them below. I read them all and I answer nearly all of them. Thank you. See you soon.